Hi Mimma, how are you doing?
Hi Georgie, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. I'm ringing to have a chat with you about Milan Fashion Week, which I think was really good this season. I was quite impressed, I think.
It was. There's so much to say.
I think this season brands really showed just how innovative and exciting they can be through the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I must admit, that's not something I particularly expected from Milan. But I think a lot of designers just really showed, even if they were just doing a normal show, somehow they managed to communicate through the screen better. And I think across the board, there were some really fantastic shows. My favorites, Fendi, Versace, and I loved Moschino. I thought that was so funny.
I don't know exactly how to express because I've been on and off with mixed feeling from the beginning. So, first day I started watching and I saw the Dolce & Gabbana show with hundreds of people and everybody standing there. I'm like, what the heck? It's just, they just cannot do anything different. And then the Fendi show where I was completely taken by the beauty of it, the collection, the movements, the filming and everything. But yet it was a show. And so I started thinking, can people really do something different than a show? And then, as you said, I saw this ability to do show and yet being creative anyway. But I must applaud Versace, who did the show that was digital, put some people in there because, having been in the art school one, having some audience, even if only 10 people helps. And the attitude. So Versace, which was a fantastic idea and an extraordinary collection. And, I'm not usually such a Versace fan, but this one was probably one of my favorite shows of the whole week. I absolutely adored Moschino. And even if I read an interview of Jeremy Scott, he says, there's nothing ironical about that, but I'm convinced there was, with the front rowers and, this irony of these people that probably were hating not being able to be there. And then he put them there anyway, and they were perfect. And then Prada and the way it was filmed and the name of the models and this robotic but yet beautiful yellow, warm in a way atmosphere, but then cold because it was robotic and every model had a name, had a humanity to it. So I thought that was really interesting. But then if you want to talk about collections, that's a different story.
I think collections are strong too. Apparently that Prada show I was reading this morning is one of their most streamed pieces of content they've ever had.
Oh, really?
The conversation between Raf and Mucha that followed, I think it racked up something like 500,000 views in a day, which just goes to show, the strength of digital. I mean, obviously now, but I think a Raf and Mucha conversation would do exceptionally well in any circumstance, to be honest.
I mean, it shows that there is a medium and a way to communicate that, people, let's move on. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Let's find something, to deal with.
What did you think of the Prada collection?
Well, I've also, when I was watching it, I was more taken by the whole Shabadan because the collection was underwhelming me a little bit. But then someone, I don't remember who, I think Susie Lau, showed details thanks to someone there filming in, and I saw details of some of the pieces and I found them much more extraordinary. What I think though, I didn't see the blending of the two great designers yet. So I see Miuccia and I see Raf, and I'm more of a fan of Miuccia, but I think Raf is a great designer, but I didn't see them getting together yet. Also, I thought it was very clever, and I listened to that beautiful conversation, and it was very clever to not overdo it. First of all, they had to work in a pandemic where they were not even in the same city like everybody else. And second, as they say, why give you fireworks when who we are is probably more important. The only thing I missed is that usually Miuccia has very strong characters, strong women, and these were little kids, and I didn't particularly like that. They were lovely models, and apparently I read somewhere it was their first show for each of them, so there was something to say about that, but they were not Prada women, and that for me was a little bit of a weird thing. But anyway, I think I'm going to go and see the collection when it comes in stores, and there were some very good ideas. I absolutely adore, as I said, the Versace collection, and
that was beautiful.
Absolutely loved, contrary to what most of critics say, the Valentino one. I thought it worked well with the possibility given by the moment. He pared it down, but those floral dresses are so beautiful. And also I'm a sucker for, Labyrinth, and that helped my loving it.
I love Labyrinth too. I was very pleased that he was performing. I quite like Valentino, and I was really, really pleased to see the return of the rock stud, because I think that's such a clever move. But I must admit I was, and I don't know if this is just because I'm not at the show, and this is where it kind of counteracts what we've just been saying. There's something about a Valentino show where you are just absolutely taken into a fantasy. You kind of forget where you are. You're so lost in the clothes and the music and the space. And it's almost just like this gorgeous Italian fantasy. I can't quite describe it. I think looking at it through the screen, I suddenly had my rose tinted glasses maybe taken off a little bit. And that's not to say the clothes weren't lovely, because they were, but I just felt a little bit like, hang on a second. I've seen this before. This is, Pier Paolo does so well in what he does, but I just was really hoping for something a little out of the box.
So what you're saying is that outside of the spectacle and the atmosphere of being there, it's not as strong?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a lovely collection, but something, it was kind of not tugging at my heartstrings as it usually does. I normally come out and feel flabbergasted, and it didn't quite have that effect. Don't get me wrong, I think it will.
I understand. I mean, to pick up on the rock star that you say, I never really liked it. I never wanted it, and it's been copied so much, but I understand why it's been such a commercial success. It's recognizable, whatever. And I think it was very smart that he redesigned it and remodernized it, with the Grecian flat sandals, whatever. And I'm sure it's going to do well. But while I was watching that, I was thinking, does that mean that they have a problem? And after the Rockstar, they never found, because we all know that even amazing brands like Valentino, where they make real money in his accessories that sell like crazy, think about the Celine by Phoebe Philo wing bags at the time, those things that become legendary and sell like crazy. So when I see it being relaunched and like a soup that is reheated, I think budget or, like financial problem, and, everybody has been in hard times, but I didn't particularly like that, because I think this is probably not commercial what I'm saying, but the beauty of Valentino is something else. And then what happens in the store, we don't care. But I thought there was a little bit too much of Rockstar in that. That's what I'm trying to say, probably.
There was a lot, and I do agree with you. It was a bit of a red warning flag, but I'm hoping it's just a COVID security blanket.
It could be.
That's my hope.
And
a few brands that really did film quite well, like a Cold Wall and MM6, not necessarily shows, but both did really interesting presentations. Fashion.
Cold War was probably one of the best filmed and art-directed film, and I loved the collection. And since I love Samuel Ross so much and I know him well, I would have expected a film that was bringing on a different narrative. But then, then there was the poems, and of course, I know that the intention is there, but if, as I was telling someone, if you watch only the film, it was just fashion. And as beautiful the fashion was and the film was, I missed the deep Samuel Ross that maybe some people don't miss, but I did. So that was one thing. And MF6 was genius. I mean, my favorite moment were those jeans booty legs that then are taken away and they're not real legs. I mean, there were moments in there that I'm like, oh, this is so fantastic. It shows how you can be creative and fun without doing a show.
It was really fab. And also Marni, actually, we should spotlight Marni first, because that was quite out of the box, I think.
Yes, I didn't particularly like the collection, but it was a good idea. Apparently, he literally sent clothes to people and he said, do whatever you want with it. And I thought it was really great.
I agree. Not my favorite collection from Francesco, but I think the concept was brilliant and kind of goes with his wonderfully kind of erratic psychedelic noggin as well.
Yeah. And another one that I was surprisingly, I was surprised to like as much was the Emporia Money. What was that called? Dialogue film, which was very dystopian yet dreamy with that perfect, architecture a la Armani, brutalist and all white and beige and gray with those dancers and actors and models. And I really, really, really liked that video. I thought it really worked.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were saying initially, and where a film really adds strength, because I think in another circumstance we might not have loved it as much.
Yeah, except that even if Armani in that film, Emporio, put a lot of the collection in it, I was taken by the film and I don't remember the collection. So I don't know
Oh.
if marketing wise that's good and makes sense, you know. I don't know. It's hard. It's very hard to find a balance. But can I say something, Georgie, before we say goodbye? We're going into Paris today, okay? And we will speak about that, you and I, in about 10 days, a week. But I don't know if you read about what happened with Le Figaro and La Camera della Moda. Le Figaro posted at the beginning, published at the beginning of Milan, an article à la French, you know, a little bit denigrating, saying, oh, you know, La Mode is starting in Milan and we can't go because we need a negative test and we can get one and then they won't have anybody and then why they're doing this. Anyway, it wasn't very kind. It wasn't as horrible as people say, but it wasn't very kind. And then La Camera responded saying, first of all, it's a time to unite and not, you know, and to try to be, you know, supporting each other, but and not being nasty, which I agree. But what I'm going to say is the following. Fashion is going on as if nothing. Yes, it's more digital than in real life. Yes, people are trying to find ideas, etc. But for me, the thing is that do we really need to create fashion week and fashion shows when it's hard to travel? We can't travel. I don't know. Why can't we do everything digital like last month for men and couture, you know, for just 1 year? What are the French going to do tomorrow after being nasty with the Italian? They're going to do the same.
I agree. I think it's still quite a shock to see people sat at shows. We're not over this yet. It would have been a lot wiser, personally. I know it's maybe not the most logistically wiser for brands and everyone and everything. There's a lot of people who are out of work when we just do digital, but I think you're quite right. It would have been really wise to just do a digital year. What we saw from London is that having that moment has really benefited quite a lot of designers.
But also, you know, I'm telling the French, let's see what you're going to do from today. And you're going to have a lot of shows and you're going to do the same. So why attack?
It's very strange. It's very strange. There's no need for it. Well, I suppose we'll see. We shall see.
I suppose we'll see, as you say.
Well, lovely to speak to you, Mimma, as ever.
Yeah, lovely to speak to you, Georgie. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to you again, on October the 6th or something like that?
I'll put it in my diary.
Great.
Speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.